Back once again doing another video game review, and the game I'm reviewing is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and it was released for the Nintendo GameCube, and it was pretty much developed by Square Enix, the company that actually owned the series. And to be truthful, this is the first Final Fantasy game in the franchise that I've owned. You know, and of course, it is a GameCube exclusive, and pretty much the plot of Crystal Chronicles involves some crystals that's been made to protect the citizens of the land from the master or something. I know I'm butchering the name. And what they do is find myrrh for the crystals to keep this dangerous like substance or whatever it is at bay. But this time around, the myrrh hasn't been growing like it should, so your goal pretty much is to go to like different join a caravan and collect myrrh for the crystals to keep this thing at bay for pretty much for another year. Now you have to you can select a character from 4 tribes: the Conclaves, the Lilies, the Ukes, and the Silkies. And now I'm not real familiar with these tribes or anything like that. No, some of you know like a little bit more about them than I do. So you can feel free to mention them in more detail in the comment section of the video. That said, that all of them have their own like specialties, traits, and temperaments. Like the Selkies, for example, are things who look out for themselves, and they're pretty agile too, and their main thing is like longer range attacks, you know. And the one thing about it is that there's like 4 weapons that's made by blacksmiths, and each weapon is specific to each member of a tribe. It's specific to a character from each tribe, I should say. The Conclaves use the steel blade, while the sonic lance are used by the Lilies. The sharpshooter are used by the Selkies, while the ruling hammers are used by the Ukes. And each weapon has a specific attack to them. And there's like and then there's a couple of metals that you can use. They're pretty much iron and bronze, and they're used to make weapons and armor out of them. And you can pretty much get food by defeating enemies or buy them at shops or whatever. And pretty much what happens is once you get the food, you not only do they restore your health, they will like temporarily increase your defense, magic, or strength depending on the food. Now the fish and the meat temporarily restores your strength, while the fruits temporarily restores your magic, and the vegetables will temporarily boost your strength. That's what it does. It doesn't temporarily restore your strength. The foods temporarily boost your strength, magic, or defense. That's what it does. What I was saying the other part. Well, of course, you throughout the game you fight different enemies and bosses in different locations, like the dungeons. And once you defeat the bosses, you actually get a certain amount of mark. And of this video, I haven't defeated any of the bosses yet. You know, and of course, now Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is a four-player co-op game, and you can use the Game Boy Advance as controllers. So you're gonna need like up to four to like for the multiplayer. Now it's like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is one of a handful of multiplayer games that uses the Game Boy Advance as controllers. I would say Legend of Zelda: The Four Swords, or the name of the Zelda game for GameCube per se, but that one uses the Game Boy Advance as controllers also. Now, in the multiplayer mode, you can pretty much gain access to the main menu through the Game Boy Advance screen, and it has 10 sub menus in it, which includes the radar. One thing about the radar is that you can access it through, regardless if you're playing it in the single player or the multiplayer. Now, you can invite, if your friend happen to have Game Boy Advance and a profile of this particular game, you can invite one of the characters that your friend uses and invite them onto your profile and like continue the game where you last saved it at. And that's a pretty good addition to the game, and I'm not aware of any other multiplayer game for the GameCube that actually does this with the Game Boy Advance. And you can also play a racing game called Blazing Caravan. In the multiplayer mode, you have to fulfill certain requirements that you're not told about in the instruction book, but you do. Once you fulfill them, you go to a specific character and select let me play a mini game. So this is pretty much, I haven't played it, but it is a pretty nice addition in my opinion. You know, as far as the graphics and design, it is pretty good. You know, some might say that it's not the best looking Final Fantasy game, but it is like pretty good on its own. You know, and the like color palettes are pretty decent also, and the gameplay is pretty good, especially since in terms of what you can do in this particular game, and the fact that you can use the Game Boy Advance as controllers in the multiplayer mode, and you can use it as a map if you happen to play by yourself. I honestly think that was like a good addition. You know, the soundtrack, it is good, but if I were to ask like fans of the Final Fantasy franchise, they would most likely say you can find other games in the series that has a better soundtrack, but the soundtrack does hold its own from a general standpoint. To me, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles from an overall standpoint is a pretty good game to have. if you have if you have a GameCube, you know what I'm saying? Pretty. Oh, I don't know if it. Some might say it's as good as say Metroid Prime or Super Mario Sunshine or something like that, but it is some. It is a game that I would recommend anybody to play, even if you're not a fan of Final Fantasy, because I know I'm not, because I pretty much bought it on without any recommendations from anybody. With that being said, as far as the score is concerned, I would definitely give it an 8. Now, as far as the any like gripes that I haven't run into them as of yet because I haven't gotten that far in the game. You know, with that being said, if you like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, you can mention it in the comment section. If you like this video review of the game, you can don't hesitate to click the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe. This is your boy Big Metroid Fan 12 signing off.